Argentina has the second largest land area in South America and the 8th largest land area on the entire planet. It is situated between the Andes Mountains in the west and the South Atlantic Ocean in the east and south, and its total surface area on the continent is 1,078,000 square miles. It shares its northern border with Bolivia and Paraguay, its northeastern border with Brazil and Uruguay, and its western and southern borders with Chile. Additionally, it asserts sovereignty over the British overseas territory of the Falkland Islands and South Georgia and the South Sandwich Islands. Argentine Antarctica is the name given to this country's claim to a portion of Antarctica that overlaps with those of Chile and the United Kingdom. This region has 374,312 square miles. Here is the history of Earth from Argentina, so let's start. History. The first signs of people living in Argentina were found in Patagonia, Piedra Museo, Santa Cruz. In 11,000 BCE, around 1 CE, corn-based societies grew up in the western and northwestern Andes, including Ancilta, Condorhuasi, Sanaga, Aguada, Santa Mara, Horps, Diaguitas, Sanavirons, and others. In 1480, the Inca Empire, led by Emperor Pachacutec, attacked and took over northwest Argentina. This area is now called Calasiu. In the northeastern area, the Guerin created a culture based on yucca and sweet potato. Nomadic cultures ruled the central and southern areas, Pampas and Patagonia, until the Mapuche people united them in the 1600s. In 1502, the first Europeans came. In 1580, Spain established a permanent colony where Buenos Aires is now. In 1776, Spain established the Viceroyalty of the Rio de la Plata. The British Empire attacked the Viceroyalty in 1806 and 1807, but the Creole people were able to stop them. On May 25, 1810, after rumors that Napoleon had overthrown King Ferdinand Villaya, the most influential people in Buenos Aires took advantage of the situation and formed the first government junta. On July 9, 1816, the United States gained its freedom from Spain. In Argentina, as in other South American countries, there was a fight between centralist and federalist ways of running the government. Centralists and federations were at odds until 1853, when the Constitution was passed and national unity was reached. In the late 1800s, Argentine agriculture became more modern because of foreign investment and immigration from Europe. This helped Argentina join the world economy. In the 1880s, the conquest of the desert made the last native tribes in southern Pampas and Patagonia submit or die out. From 1880 to 1930, Argentina got more and more wealthy and famous. In Argentine politics, conservative forces were in charge until 1916, when their old enemies, the Radical Civic Union, took over the government. Hipólito Yrigoyen was forced out of power by the military in 1930. This led to another 10 years of conservative rule. Culture. The primary source of cultural formation and influence in Argentina may be traced back to the country's European ancestry. Because so many people in Buenos Aires are of European heritage and the city has made a conscious effort to imitate European culture, it is incontestably the most European city in South America. It is widely regarded as the continent's cultural center. Religion. The majority of Argentina's population identifies as Christian. At the very least, 80% of Argentina's population identifies as practicing some form of Roman Catholicism. The practice of Roman Catholicism is recognized by the state and given official sanction by the Constitution. Since the 1980s, evangelical churches in Argentina have developed a footing. There are now more than 3.5 million followers of these churches, equivalent to 10% of the country's entire population. There are more than 330,000 people who follow the Mormon religion, making it the 7th largest religious group in the world. There are also traditional communities that adhere to the Protestant faith. Additionally, it is home to around 2% of Latin America's total Jewish population, making it the country with the most significant Jewish population in the region. Plus, it is the location of one of the largest mosques in Latin America, serving Argentina's very modest Muslim population. Language. In Argentina, only Spanish is recognized as an official language at the national level. However, the indigenous Amerindian language Guaran is recognized as an official language in the province of Corrientes. Particular regions of the country are home to immigrant communities as well as indigenous people who have preserved their native tongues. For instance, there are many towns and cities in Patagonia that speak Welsh, and there are also some towns and cities in Cordoba, Buenos Aires, and Patagonia that speak German. Other languages, such as Japanese, Chinese, Korean, and Russian, are easy to find in Buenos Aires, where most of the country's immigrant groups can be located. The most common languages spoken are Italian, English, and French. Cuisine. The cuisine of other European countries like Spain, Italy, Germany, and France significantly impacts Argentine cuisine. Empanadas are a type of stuffed pastry. Locro, a mixture of maize, beans, beef, bacon, onion, gourd, and chorizo, a meat-based spicy sausage, are all examples of the several types of staple meals that can be found in Argentina. The Argentine barbecue, known as asado, is one of the most well-known in the world. It features various cuts of meat such as blood sausage, sweetbread, and chitterlings, among other things. Argentines have the highest per capita consumption of red meat in the world. Therefore, beef is typically the main course in many Argentine dinners. Consuming yerba mate is widely accepted as a cultural norm in Argentina. Economy: Argentina has a lot of natural resources, a highly educated population, an agricultural sector that focuses on exports, and a diverse industrial base. In contrast to other Latin American countries, the country has always had a large middle class, but a series of economic crises killed off most of this group. Even though there are many wealthy people in the world, they are in stark contrast to the millions who live in poverty or are close to it. Since the end of the 1970s, the country has had high inflation and a lot of public debt. In 1991, the government fixed the peso's value to the US dollar. This kept the monetary base from growing too much. The government then started down a path of free trade, less government control, and private ownership. The inflation rate went down and the gross domestic product, GDP, went up. But economic shocks from the outside and problems with the system lessened its benefits and caused it to fall apart slowly from 1995 until it collapsed in 2001. This meant that the central bank had to buy dollars from the market, which it still does, to store as reserves. Argentina is often recognized as one of the most developed nations in the Latin American region. It has the highest GDP per capita, the highest levels of education as measured by university attendance, and a good infrastructure that in many respects is on par with the quality of that which can be found in fully industrialized nations. All of these accolades have been bestowed upon it. The field of telecommunications is incredibly robust, characterized by a significant penetration of mobile telephony, internet, and broadband services. By 2002, Argentina had stopped paying its debt, its GDP had gone down, unemployment was higher than 25%, and the peso had lost 75% of its value after being devalued and allowed to float. But careful control of spending and high taxes on now rising exports gave the government the tools to get money back and run monetary policy. In 2003, policies to replace imports with exports and a rise in exports, along with lower inflation and other measures to boost the economy, led to a rise in the GDP, repeated in 2004. This created jobs and boosted domestic spending. Less money left the country and foreign investors slowly started coming back. Exports brought in so much foreign currency that there was a considerable trade surplus. This meant that the central bank had to buy dollars from the market, which it still does, to store as reserves. Argentina is often recognized as one of the most developed nations in the Latin American region. It has the highest GDP per capita, the highest levels of education as measured by university attendance, and a good infrastructure that in many respects is on par with the quality of that which can be found in fully industrialized nations. All of these accolades have been bestowed upon it. The field of telecommunications is incredibly robust, characterized by a significant penetration of mobile telephony, internet, and broadband services. Demographics. Unlike many of its neighbors, most of Argentina's people are descended from Europeans of Spanish, Italian, and other European descent. After the Spanish colonists, waves of people from Europe moved into the country in the late 1800th century and early 1900th century. Contributors include France, mainly to Buenos Aires, Scandinavia, especially Sweden, the United Kingdom and Ireland, mainly to Buenos Aires and Patagonia, and Eastern European countries like Poland, Russia, and Ukraine, as well as Balkan countries, especially Croatia, Romania, and Serbia. The Patagonian Chubut Valley has a large number of people with Welsh roots. The majority of Argentina's Jewish population, the largest in Latin America and the fifth largest in the world, comes from Northern and Eastern European Ashkenazi Jews who moved there. In the northern provinces, the Mestizo population is the most significant ethnic minority. Since mixed-race people are not counted as non-white in Argentina's population counts, it is hard to know how big they are. Estimates range from 3% to 15%, with the latter being the most trusted. Many people from East Asia have also moved to Argentina, mainly to Buenos Aires. The first Asian Argentines were Japanese, but Koreans, Vietnamese, and Chinese soon followed. There are also a smaller number of people from the Indian subcontinent. So that's all for today's video. If you like this video, click the like and the bell buttons. We'll have another video for you soon. Take care until then.